inviting me. I'm honored, I'm humbled, overwhelmed, lots of things. As I was saying, when I'm called to talk, I always get, what have I done? Like, why are they calling me? Like, you know, that's the feeling I get. But sometimes when it takes somebody to read out what you've done, oh, okay, not bad, I've actually done something. You know, that's the feeling I get. There's a sense of pride and accomplishment. So thank you for that wonderful intro. I can see that you've gone through my bios and my CV really, you know, extensively. So I was born in a very, very typically what you would call an orthodox Tambram family. My dad was in the army and my mother is a retired school teacher. Pretty much raised in Mylapore, but of course we traveled a bit in the early years when my dad was still in the army, but he passed on young. So when my mother was very young, actually, I was 4, my sister was 6, and my mother was only 28 or 29. So for most of my life, I have seen only one parent, who for me has been my biggest, as cliche as it sounds, my biggest source of strength and inspiration. As with, I don't know if this is a generalization, but as with most Tambram kids, I was fairly brilliant in math. But what did happen, my trajectory took a different turn. I was actually fairly good in math, and I had an electronic bent of mind. I was able to unravel electronic materials and put them back together, and my favorite time pass used to be repairing the remote. This is pre-cable days, you know, we had only Doordarshan. So I think what happened, although for me, was going through the mainstream education system, I realized that I was a hyperactive child. I was not being challenged enough. I was very much into sports, so that helped a little bit. But there came a point of time when my focus just wouldn't go back to my education. So from straight centums, I went to flunking subjects on purpose. I would know all the answers and I would just be like, I'm bored, I don't want to do this. And being a teacher's kid was not easy. Luckily, after the 3rd grade, when my mom was my class teacher at school, she said, no more, this is not happening, we are not going to be in the same school. So thankfully, we were in separate schools. My sister was in a separate school, I was in a separate school, my mother was in a separate school. But it wasn't easy because everybody expects you to, like, you know, get sent home all the time, and you're a teacher's daughter, you can study. And also just transitioning from a straight A student to somebody who was just not going to study. Simply because, not because I was not capable, simply because I was bored. And I was very open about my answer as well when I was questioned. But I think for me, what happened was the pressure of somebody saying, no, you have to get, and this pressure never came from my mom. She was always, if you are able to do it, do it. She was never the kind of person who would sit me down and say, you know what, we're going to do your homework. She was like, you do your homework, you don't do it, you get in trouble, your problem. I'm not going to come and talk to your teachers. And I think somewhere, like there was a sense of responsibility because I've always seen her do things alone, and she always encouraged my sister and I to take care of our own lives. So we've grown up very, very independent. So that streak of independence very much remains. And when I was battling with what to do after my 10th, you know, what group to take, and I was very clear, she felt that I would be good with biology, but I had a strong interest in biology, but I did not want to do chemistry. I like biology and physics.
No problem.
Yeah, okay, sorry, we're in darkness. But what happened at that time was, what happened at that time was, I was very clear that I didn't want to do math, even though I was very interested in it. I said, no, I'm not going to continue with maths. So, very luckily for me, my school at that time had the option of sociology. That was when I realized that I was really interested in people and how the world around me works. So yeah, I did the commerce, I did the accounts, went for the accounts tuition, managed to get my scores, but I realized that sociology was something that really pulled me in. And around that time, 15 was when I started dancing, and it's now 20 years. And there were only like 2 or 3 Western dance schools, and it was categorically called Western dance because it was not an Indian form. There was no definition or anything. But as my opportunities to perform on stage grew. And it was around the same time that I was also coming out of a very bad bout of being bullied in school. And from a really outgoing, super confident young person, I became this completely sullen, angry, insecure teenager. And my mother recognized that I needed something to bring me out of that. And when I started evincing an interest in this form of dance, I was already doing music. She said, okay, go for it. Finish your 10th and then, start classes. And it so happened that I got opportunities to perform in like corporate shows very immediately. And I got hooked. Like there was no other word for it. It was almost like a drug, then getting on stage and feeling the lights on you and having people clap. I started craving it and I was like, this is what I want to do. So I think by the time I was midway through my 11th grade, I knew that I wanted to pursue a career in performing arts, but I was already doing, dance in school and drama and everything possible, singing, and now I was also performing professionally. I remember in 12th grade, they called only the parents of the kids who hadn't done well in school in the quarterly exams, and my mother was called, and I was really nervous. I was like, oh my God, did I flunk anything? And the teacher called her just to ask, why this form of dance? Why are you not letting her do Bharatanatyam? And why is she performing on stage for professional shows? It's not necessary. So I remember very clearly, and that was the day I knew my mom was boss. Because she stood up to the teacher and she said, if this is what you've called me for, you're wasting my time, because I took a day off from work. This is something that has helped her come out of severe, intense, black bouts of depression because of the bullying that she faced in your school. So I don't think you should be questioning my decisions as a parent. She just very cleanly put her down, and for me, that day I know that, for me, that was a defining moment in thinking, okay, you know what? I can stand up for myself. And because seeing my mom do it, it just really, really made my day. And seeing that kind of support from my mother. And of course my sister as well. There was a lot of opposition in the beginning because, traditional family and you have to go the traditional route. And because my mother was a single parent, there was also a lot of pressure, like, what will people say? The Indians' favorite line, what will people say? But I'm very glad that my mother stood her ground, and she didn't fight with anybody, but she just stood her ground and she said she will do what she wants to do as long as it's morally and ethically right, not beating any of the principles that I have taught her. So I followed a 12-year whirlwind of a career, and very surprisingly one would assume that if you're following your passion and you're doing what you love, you're happy. And I discovered at the end of 12 years that I was not happy. I started getting very jaded with what I was doing. It was a repetition of the same thing, and I said, this is what I did not want in my life. And that was when I made the change, and I decided to put all my hard-earned savings with a little bit of help from some grandparents, loving grandparents. I went to New York to study, and it changed my perspective. I knew always that I wanted to do something meaningful with my art, but I didn't know what. And that for me, those 6 months living by myself in the big city really gave me a perspective on what art can be used for, and what a powerful tool it is to effect not just change, but even simply to just start a dialogue, create an awareness, experiment with different ideas and concepts, and have some form of cathartic outlet. And that was when the idea for High Kicks was born. Like I was like, okay, in my 12 years with a professional dance company, I had seen 12 different groups of girls come and go. They never pursued it completely. Even the boys stayed a lot longer than the girls. And it was always because, oh, 3 years of college, time pass, I know I'll do it, I make some money on the side. But nobody ever took it seriously because there was no structure for it. It was just come, learn a song, do a choreography, maybe do some workshops with visiting instructors and faculty, but there was no sense of seriousness about them pursuing it, having like a fiscal, strength to it. So I realized that those were the things that needed to be worked on. But my first goal was platform. There has to be a platform, which was why I started an all-girls ensemble, because I realized that somehow or the other the guys in the city are able to, push their way forward and get the permission or, stand their ground. But the girls, the standard question always is, oh, she has to get married. And this really irked me. I feel like marriage does not have to be a barrier to, doing everything that you want to do. And I'm seeing so many inspiring women it has to be just one milestone in your life. You get married because you love somebody, or you feel it's time and your parents have found somebody for you, irrespective of whatever method you choose. And it irked me that this was being a reason for people to say, oh, I don't want my daughter to pursue this. And then the other common thing was, oh, economic independence. You know, how will she make money out of this? Today I'm very glad to say that we've converted, I mean, almost all the girls who come through the doors of high kicks, or rather the doors of MDA and perform with high kicks, are being slowly convinced, or are convinced of the fact that they can take this up as a full-time career and profession. We've managed to convert at least about 7 to 8 young women who are very strongly employed, take home a good pay every month, and are able to do other things as well, explore within the form itself, because the form itself gives you this wide berth of things, other options, whether it's dance therapy or movement therapy or studying psychology and dance and drama together, movement-based learning, all of these things. And these are all things that we are experimenting and exploring avenues of employment with. So I started high kicks in 2011, and I had the idea, and I kept telling friends, oh, you know what, I have this idea, great idea, all girls ensemble. You know, I know it has to be an ensemble and not a company, because I want to get, the difference is the company is everybody's the same. In an ensemble, people come from varied backgrounds of training. That's the dictionary explanation. So I was very clear that I wanted to have dancers with different backgrounds and different basis of the art form that we could put together and create new work. And I was just like, oh, but I don't have a space, oh, I don't have dancers. So I kept putting off the start. Between when I came back in 2010, I think July I came back, till about January of 2011, I just shared the idea with multiple people, but just never started it. Because I was like, oh, this is not there, that is not there, this is not there. And then in a very random encounter with a casual acquaintance, that person said, he said, but if you're going to wait for everything, it'll never start, no? And it just, I don't know what happened, it flipped a switch in my head. So I said, okay, okay, I'm going to reach out to whoever I know. I put out a small audition notice on social media, some small press blurb came out, and then I had, we got the Dark is Beautiful campaign that I support because of the bullying that I faced. They had a small show coming up for Women's Day. They said, will you do a small performance, like a 5-minute? So I found 2 interested girls, and then it was just the 3 of us who performed. I remember in Express Avenue in the second atrium for Women's Day, and so was born High Kicks on Women's Day, March 10th, 2011. It was a very, very unintended start date. So even today everybody's like, oh, because it's an all-girls ensemble, you started on Women's Day, is it very smart? And I'm like, no, not really. It was a very, very chance thing that happened. But I believe in science, I believe in the universe sending you, you know, energies and signals, and for me this was a big sign. It said, okay, you know what, you're on the right track with this. Of course, and then comes around the first year of High Kicks, which was a massive failure, which is great because it taught me so much of what I did not want to do. I auditioned so many dancers. Suddenly there were like some 15 girls after that show who said, oh, we all want to be part of your company, something new. But they didn't realize the amount of hard work. So we had a very broken down little space, and the flooring wasn't great. There were pillars in between, so we had to adjust and all of that. And what happened was, at the end of that year, I had 2 remaining from the 15. And then comes what I call the golden year, which was the second year of High Kicks, and there were these 8 young women who at staggered intervals just happened to join. Or rather, even now we find, you take 10 people, 4 remain. Because it takes a little bit of metal, it takes a little bit of hard work, and only the really, really strong ones remain. And these 8, well, it's 8 including me, I include myself in the golden 8. With them, we achieved heights that I did not think would be possible. We staged our first festival where we brought down a hip-hop crew from Los Angeles and held a show we associated with the British Council. I got an opportunity to consult for their contemporary dance festival for the British Council, which built my network up all over the country and around the world. I got the opportunity to apply for the Commonwealth Youth Dance Festival because of that. I put together the outreach and the workshops with so many of these really great Hofesh Sector dance company. He's the number 1 contemporary choreographer in the world today, Akram Khan Company, who performed for the Olympics, London Olympics, Scottish Dance Theatre, and through these people, for me, like this brand new world opened up with what I could do further. So that was one step of growth, and that was when I slowly started realizing that the kind of work we do has to have, I've always believed that your art form has to have intention, it has to have a story or something that it is definitely, you know, kind of saying on stage. But there is a belief that contemporary dance here is for wine and cheese crowd, let's all go pretend that we understood something, but they did something on stage. It's very abstract, we didn't understand, but we use big words and pretend we understood. And I'm being brutally honest here, but that's literally been my experience with practically every show. So our intent was, let's make contemporary dance accessible. Let's make concepts accessible. It doesn't have to be just about putting on popular music, putting 20 steps to it, going on stage and dancing. It has to be about telling a story, telling an intention, making the audience feel something. We staged our first production in 2013, August. Second one 2014, and then third one in 15, and then so on. And we've staged 9 productions, the most recent being on September 9th. And I can proudly say that my work has grown by leaps and bounds. And there have been so many stages where I've also learned on the job how it is to run a business, a performing arts business, as well as a studio. And one of the biggest challenges that I faced initially was parents saying that, you know, we can't send her beyond 6:30, or this is not something she can pursue beyond 1 year. The very first production, Leap Into Life, which was about the life of an artist who is boxed in and chooses to fight back. I'm very proud to say that 3 of the dancers' parents came up to me after the show, hugged me and cried and said, we'll never stop her from dancing. I said, that's all, I don't even need a packed house. That's the result I needed. And that was another milestone for me to realize that, okay, what you are doing is on the right track, and now you need to continue creating work that goes into that zone. So at the moment, I call myself an arts activist because I create work about things that I feel very strongly about. Last year's production, Dwende, which means the power of art to mysteriously, deeply move a person, was a triple bill. It dealt with the themes of mental illness, the refugee crisis, or being displaced as a refugee, and women in history. That piece was called Her Story, which was performed again for the British Council and the British Deputy High Commission's 70 Years in India program. That particular piece, Her Story, talks about women in history whose contributions have been ignored, and we're developing that into a full-fledged show as well. Dwende has travelled to Bangalore and is now going to be travelling to Hyderabad, hopefully Bombay and Delhi this year, the next year. And this year's production, Skin, for us was a landmark goal, because we normally do 1-hour productions or 70-minute productions with about 2-minute costume changes, you know, in between acts. Skin was an 83-minute production where the dancers don't exit the stage at all. And for me, having a team that's what would normally be defined as a team of really puny young girls, most of whom are vegan even, not even vegetarian, people just don't get how did you guys dance for 83 minutes on stage? And it's intensely physical, intensely theatrical, including narrative and dialogue. For me, that's one of the biggest achievements, because the work that we do is, the physical came about because of the emotional. And Skin, which is the show that we did, deals with race, religion, gender and sexuality, and how the 4 intersect. And the premise is set in a playground. And it's one of the scripts I'm extremely proud of, and this is a piece that's hopefully going to be travelling to, the piece as a workshop is going to be travelling to the Australian Youth Dance Festival next year in Melbourne. And the refugee piece, which is called Dépassement, is going to be travelling as well to perform. So that's the continuation of the Commonwealth Youth Dance Festival, which is happening in Australia next year. So apart from all of this, High Kicks for me was going great guns, and I was like, oh, need to open a studio. We need a space. So Madras Dance Arts was my baby. But before I go into how I opened Madras Dance Arts, I'd like you guys to see a small reel of High Kicks. Could I just request you to play it?
We don't have volume.
That's okay, it's fine. These are excerpts from some of the productions we've done.
There's no volume?
There is volume.
There is volume, but it's okay. It's fine. We also work on videos that we create for YouTube. This was one such video that went viral for us because it was a one-shot trick video through a broken house that we completely did up. The concept, the feel, all the set, the props, everything that you see was made by the girls, handmade by the girls. Wish we could have the audio.
Yeah.
It's okay, it's fine. So for us, the videos are a way of like bonding. We work on the project together. So in fact, now we are working on one for digital release. And the videos are where we work within the commercial circuit. We use the videos to brand and promote ourselves. But our shows are a lot more like serious work. That is from the metal in this piece. That's it. That's fine. Thank you. Anyway, this video is up on YouTube on the High Kicks channel if you guys would like to watch it with the video. So we started Madras Dance Arts in 2017 March. So we're a year and a half old, and we kind of hit the jackpot with the space in terms of getting the monies that we needed. We built up the space, and while I'm somebody who's learned a lot on the job, like I've taught myself to edit, I've taught myself audio and video editing or sound, or whether it's creating stuff for LED and teaching myself how to notate choreography and all of that stuff, I realized that I hadn't taught myself about business. And but at the same time, I think the universe, like I said, always takes care of you when you least expect it. I think I was meeting all the right kind of people last year, and we managed to get an investment for the studio and the space and the overall company as for the larger vision. And we've got the most amazing partners who don't interfere in the creative side at all, and who are just there when you need any kind of help, any kind of advice, any kind of input, with a solid financial and business background. But at the same time, I realized that the space was not going to keep running if I was not able to kind of focus on that. So this May I had to take the hard decision of, okay, we're going to move out of the space, we're going to go somewhere that's a little less expensive. And for me, again, it felt like a failure. Like, it's always like this 1 year mark, you know, the first year is kind of like the decisive year. And we realized that we generated such a large revenue, but we ended up, we broke even in the first year, which is itself a huge thing. But we realized that all of the revenue was going towards the upkeep of the space, while we couldn't really see the fruits of our labor too much. So after a meeting with the business partners, we decided, okay, you know what, we're going to move out of the space and everything. And September was our deadline to move out. And in fact, we are in the process of packing up the studio. But I'm really, really happy to say, like I said, the universe from somewhere takes care of you. If you're good, I guess it comes back to you. My larger goal of a standalone performing arts institute, which is known worldwide, where we have music, dance, theatre, maybe a small cafe, hopefully in the long term, a dancewear store, and you know, maybe a performance venue. We were running the space also as an intimate performance venue, but on a much larger scale. All of that is going to be coming to fruition by April of 2019. So I'm extremely excited. So even though we have to move out of the space now and adjust for an interim period of 6 months, the excitement is that we are moving into the space that we are going to be developing by April. And my long-term goal for 2020 is coming through in 2019 itself. So I'm actually extremely happy about that. And the standalone studio is basically the Performing Arts Institute. The larger goal is that people should come from all over the world to one place. I'm not interested in franchisees and branches and all of that. Just like how BDC was, Broadway Dance Center was an experience for me. It was not just about going in there, learning dance from different teachers. The whole space is so conducive to the arts. Any advice you need, student counselors, and it's not a college, but they've structured it like one, which is essentially what we're trying to do with Madras Dance Arts, which is why I was very proud of my baby Kritya, which is the Performing Arts Diploma, which was accredited by Trinity College. Our first batch has graduated with high distinction, so the second batch is now ready to start in October. And that's pretty much my story as of now. As far as being a feminist or being an activist is concerned, I think we're all not born socially conscious. We're all the product of the conditioning that makes us. And I think for me, the more I travel, the more I see, the more I read, the more I learn, the more aware I become. And it has to, I think, be a conscious decision from within that, okay, I'm going to learn about this and it has affected a change within me. And being accepting of that change. And being able to translate that into art, into dance, into movement is, I would say, the highlight of my life, not even my day or week or month or year. And being able to impart that to young kids. We work now out of 4 or 5 of the top schools in Chennai, where I create syllabus for dance, movement and performing arts, and being able to affect that change in entitled, privileged, urban kids. And at the same time, carry forward those skills and work with within the outreach that we do. We work with an NGO called Yenudan, which works with the Chetpet kids, and we staged one of our professional productions with them last April. And I know that those kids are still affected by it. They remember the lines, they remember the choreographies, they remember the roles that they played, because I received a very sweet gift from them with little notes from them for Teachers' Day this year. And while the experiences of teaching urban privileged kids and kids who are also in the urban spectrum but not necessarily have the same kind of privileges, and the difference with which they look at art is a constant challenge and a constant learning curve for us as a team, as a group. So the larger goals right now is to get everybody to look at movement as something that changes your life. To that extent, I'm going to make you all do a very small activity. I promise I'm not going to make you dance. It's a very simple, it's what we call a visualization tool. If I could request all of you to just set aside whatever you have and close your eyes for a second, just listen to the sound of my voice. Thank you. Yeah, just close your eyes. Just try and visualize whatever it is that I'm asking you to. Think about a stream of light hitting you on the crown of your head from above. Now give this light a color. Now give this light a shape and a texture. Is it round? Is it a thin beam? Is it a thick beam? Is it a square? Is it a flash? Is it soft and fuzzy? Is it sharp? Is it sparkly? And in the same color. Now imagine this going through the center of the top of your head, that is the crown of your head, all the way through the center of your body. Now keeping this line going through the center of your body straight, slowly stand up where you are. Keep your eyes closed. If you have something in your hands, keep holding on to it, it's fine. Just stand up. Now visualize the line going through your body, right through the center. Please make sure your hands are not held together. Release them by the side. If you're holding something, keep one in either hand and release them and hold them by the sides. Yes, great. Fabulous. Keep your eyes closed. Now take a deep breath and let it out. One more. And one more. Those of you who have your hands free, I'd like you to just start moving only your fingers. Just the fingers. No wrist, no elbow, nothing. Those of you who don't have your hands free, move just the neck. The others move just the fingers. Add your wrist to it. If you're moving your neck, you can add your shoulders to it. Move, really move. Find the ways in which you can move the neck, the shoulders. The others can also add the neck and the shoulders and the wrist and the fingers. Great, lovely. Slow, gentle movements. Now the whole time I want you to keep hearing your breath in your ears. Hear the sound of your breath. Now, before you go back to your seats, I want you to visualize water. Water in any form, whatever form you like best. And by form, I don't mean ice or steam. I mean like it can be rain or a drizzle or a droplet, or water in a glass, or a river, or a puddle. Now visualize yourself, your whole body being the water, and fall gently back into your seat, visualizing that you're that water. How would that water go? How would it fall on the seat? Nice. Open your eyes. Okay. I'm not going to give you any inputs now on like what this exercise is meant to do, but I'd like you to share with me because I don't like to have a mic and keep talking. Just share thoughts. What happened when you did the exercise? Anybody? Please talk to me. I'd like to have a conversation.
So the visualization was difficult.
You found it difficult? Of visualization of being water? The light? Okay. What happened? It came up to the head. After that you were not able to visualize it going through the body. Okay, we'll come back to you in a second. Anybody else?
The experience was really relaxing.
You felt relaxed. Great. Okay. No right or wrong answers. I want to know what happened. Because
I feel the body was more looser.
Yeah.
you felt like your body was kind of easing
I
out.
didn't go and
Okay. What about you?
And I didn't have a straight line, it was like a wave.
It was wavy. Okay. Great.
I was very restless.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, I wanted to get this entire thing over fast.
Okay, that's an honest answer because a lot of people have that also. I'll come back to why we do this, what this exercise is. Anybody else? Anything else?
Just curious as to what is going to happen.
Okay, great. That's always, whether it's 10-year-olds or it's whatever age it is, everybody always, these are usually some of the same answers that come out. So this is what we call a centering exercise. Physically, it also helps us center when we are standing in parallel position. It helps us center the body before we go into turns, and it's a form of balance. It's what it's called centering. And we use a visualization technique to do the centering. That is, I'm talking about the light exercise, the first one that you did. We graduated and we did 3 exercises. I'll explain each. Now, what happens is, you said it was very difficult, right, beyond this, which happens because we have so many distractions around us. Not that I'm saying that you're distracted now, but it's a generic thing. We realize no matter the amount of meditation, yoga, pranayama you do, to a large extent, it is very difficult for any of us to kind of focus largely. I find I can't do meditation. I can't do yoga. It's too slow for me. I can't. The minute the instructor says close your eyes and make it a blank, make your mind a blank, I'll be like, did I turn off the gas? Are the lights on at home? Did I pay my electricity bill this month? You know, my brain starts working overtime. What this exercise will do is, for each of us, our meditative activity is actually different. My meditative activity is either doing choreography or cooking. My brain tunes out. Most of us never find our meditative activity. It's this, to try to get this centering feeling when you're doing an activity. When you get that feeling, you go into an almost trance-like state. You are not aware of what else is around you, but only yourself, the self rather, not even yourself. I would never understand these concepts. I'd be like, oh, it's too meta for me, you know. But the minute I started reading up about it and I saw how movement could affect that. Obviously, one day, one time, if you try it, it's not going to happen. But this is something, it's a very simple exercise. If you are willing to try it, if you try it every morning when you get up, right before we head for the phone, right before you touch the phone. It happens, we all, including me, I'm guilty of it. But when you get up off the bed and you stand up, just stand up in this position, close your eyes and try to visualize the light. Each day the color will change. It may be wavy, it may be straight, whatever. You can give it, you can even put glitter on it if you feel like, you know. But when you start being able to visualize your body in 3D, we can't do that. It's a little difficult. When you start being able to visualize your body in 3D and feel the light, the beam going through, your body gets centered around that beam. And that beam is grounding you to the ground. So whether I'm walking, whether I'm cooking, whether I'm, you know, doing squats or I'm just, you know, sitting and doing a puja or whatever it is, that beam is keeping you grounded. It's a great centering tool. It's not just a movement tool, but it's a great centering tool. And doing it like maybe repetitively over a week, initially it will be really, you know, difficult to do. You will feel restless. The other thing is the finger. So we normally, the movement exercise that we did, we normally develop that into the whole body, which takes a little bit of time. It's about a 30-minute process. It's a great gradual warm-up for people who are not too physically active and you don't want to directly go into like jumping cardio. It's a great way to warm up the body by bringing in body awareness. So what happens is when we keep going into wrists, now add the fingers, now add the wrists, now add only the shoulders, people will forget to move the fingers. So it's very difficult to be aware of all the parts of your body, which is also a great tool because I find that anything that is here physically manifesting manifests emotionally and vice versa. And when you're emotionally you know, not steady is when it physically manifests into some kind of ailment. It could be a psychosomatic pain, or it could be a cough or a cold, or the fact that your immunity just goes down. And I find that just, you know, people say get moving. it's a very casual statement that people make. But this is the biggest, it's the best statement of my life. The minute you feel things are static, not moving forward, or kind of just, rigid, anything in life, work, business, personal life, whatever it may be, if you get up and move and just implement that same, not just sometimes a physical movement will trigger a thought process which will trigger a change. And I find that this specifically, we do this mind-body sync workshop with corporates, and we find that it's affected a massive change for a lot of people. Just the fact that they've gotten up and moved. They say, right, one of the best tools to deal with depression or low mental health, poor mental health is exercise. There's a reason. It need not be the same kind of exercise for everybody, but moving your body is like, for me, and this is something I tell my mom constantly as she ages, and if she has any aches and pains or if her knee starts to trouble her, what I say is you need to get moving. You need to be constantly figuring out, and stillness is also movement, and you need to find the balance. And for me, this exploration and understanding of somatic practice has really helped change the way I look at choreography and performance. There's an intention to, why is my hand going that way? Why is my elbow bending that way? What am I trying to tell the audience? And as somebody who also does theatre and I act in plays, it's what a massive dramatic tool. Just being able to communicate something with a twitch of your shoulder or one eyebrow. This is all old school acting methods, but the body language really helps. Understanding the body really helps. And we also, I find, become a lot more controlled and sensitized about how we speak to people. We're not, when you get angry, everybody's like waving their arms and getting agitated. And I'm not the calmest person on the planet. I'm very animated and I speak. But I find that there is a certain calmness even in that animation. And this is definitely movement. And this is something that we've taken on as a personal mission, all of us at High Kicks. I also spread the word because each of the girls, they come to me, most of the time they come to me as a really, really, for lack of a better word, bratty 18-year-olds or 17-year-olds who half the time don't have an understanding of the kind of privilege they have. And working with High Kicks is not just about the dancing, it's not just about the learning of technical skill, it's not just about the performance opportunities, but it's about learning essential life skills, crisis management, dealing with people, working in groups, standing up for what you think is right, understanding and believing in, things that you have faith in. So yes, I'm going to wind up very soon, I promise. So that's pretty much what movement has done for me, and my personal mission is to ask all of you to start moving every day. Even just a centering exercise is a massive tool. It really helps. Thank you. Sorry for taking up so much of your time.